Hi everybody, welcome to Israel Mega, and I'd like to talk to you about my recent trip to the Gaza envelope. Alright, just to give an idea how close is the fence is just over there, the house is here, something not more than 200 meters or so, and then beyond that over there the horizon is Aza. That's the pile of burnt cars with
arrive to Reim West area.
In that direction, there will be towards Gaza.
Man, my friends, this is greetings to Gaza.
Basically, that's where the on October the 7th, Hamas massacred a lot of like thousands of civilians, as well as attacked some of the settlements. And the settlements, ironically, the people who lived there are wishing for peace between Israel and Palestine, or Arabs, I would call them. So, I'm going to give a short introduction as well as kind of my concluding thoughts of what happened. And so first and foremost, I will start with why did I choose to go to that trip. The reason why I came on this trip is actually to actually face, in a sense, evil. I know it's not like the real thing. This is the aftermath of what evil has done. It's my first time going to that trip to the Gaza envelope after October the 7th. I wasn't able to go. Previously I wanted to go, but somehow it didn't work out. This time around, God opened the door, and inside, I have already, prior to going down on last Sunday where I went, we had, my wife and I, we already had some tour, that was given by Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we did meet with a survivor from the Nova massacre, as well as other people. Post October 7th, we heard a lot of crazy things, and the thought at that time was that we are dealing with barbarians, right? So that was the impression that I got from that. And then during that time, we met a guy called Alon Penzel, and then he wrote this book. It's actually a very gripping account of his interviews with the Zaka medical personnel. So Zaka are those is an organization that one of the first aid medical personnel that went into the settlements to basically retrieve the bodies or to see if there's any survivors, try to help them and things like that. So he wrote a very it's quite horrifying accounts of interviews with the Zaka personnel who went, kind of like hours or days after the place had been cleared by the army, and talking about what the Zaka volunteers actually saw. And then we bought this book. It's called in Hebrew Shiv'a Be'October. Basically, it means October the 7th. And also this photographer went into the Gaza envelope. Again, soon after. And you see the burnt cars. I saw that on my trip. And there are many photographs, but I just want to emphasize on this Toyota pickup truck that was used by the terrorists. And there are also other photographs, anyway. Now, having returned from the trip, I'll be able to appreciate these books, these photographs in a more direct way, in a more personal way, because I've been there. And there's something about being at the actual place where they happen. So, for example, there was a video when it first came out. It showed there was a very steep bend.
This is the curve of Mefalsim.
Now I found out that road was Road 232. And as you're driving on that road, specifically the people who was escaping from the Nova massacre, they were driving along this steep curved road. You can't tell what's at the bend. And on that morning, they met with after the turn, as they were turning, they met with lines of Hamas trucks. And so basically they were sitting ducks. And that is a result of and that's why you get this, where every car that went into that bend was virtually burnt. If I may I'm a believer, so if I may say, you read the Bible so many times in your life, but it's only when you come to the land you connect the stories with the actual place. The impact, it's so much more, it's of a different dimension, which allows me to go back to my original point, which is why I went there. And actually I wanted to feel the evil in that sense. Basically it's a different journey for different people, but for me it's I don't want myself to be living in a dream world where everything is good and fine, and there's no bad people in this world. Everybody is good. They've got good intentions. I wanted to kind of reorientate my mind to what's realistic, and Israel is actually in the boundary of basically evil forces, and I'll say demonic forces, which I'll explain in a bit why I think so. And Israel is actually the shield or the line of defense to prevent those satanic forces from advancing to the rest of the world. Why do I say it's satanic? Because remember the previous photograph I showed you about the pickup truck that Hamas was using? So two things I learned. Some of this was totally new. First is the IDF managed to overcome some of these Hamas terrorists and basically take over their pickups. And in it they found two things. First of all was a lot of dates. So obviously I was in the army before, so I know how heavy it is to carry, especially if you're firing the machine gun. It's very, very tiring because there's a lot of vibration, and then you're trying to concentrate. It's really physically exhausting. So dates give quick energy, quick food, and then you're ready to go. Now the second thing, the idea found in those trucks, and this was a shocker for me, was that they found a lot of pills, basically drugs, okay? And initially, I thought these were drugs that, or pills that when you were, like if you got caught and then you quickly pop one of those in and then you commit suicide. But I was wrong. It wasn't those pills, but these were drugs that are called amphetamine. So in case you're not aware, this drug was actually manufactured during Hitler's time, so that its fighter pilots can stay in the air for 24 hours, So these same pills were found also in ISIS fighters and in the hands of Hamas. So there you have it. Those guys, the same bunch of people. All right. So that's why I think it's this Hamas. The people who are for Hamas, supporting Hamas, they're just basically satanic in nature. The criminals. I mean, what did I do that day? So we left Jerusalem in the morning, and the first thing we went for a rest stop, coffee, and immediately we went to a place called Kfar Maimon. Anyway, it's one of the towns down there that has agricultural fields. So because before October 7, a lot of Gazans would go to such farmlands to work and get paid and employment. Obviously, after October 7, none of them were able to come in. So that means that the Israeli farmers have a shortage of labor, and that's a big issue. And so we were there to volunteer. What we did was we were in a greenhouse, and we were helping to plant celery. Yeah. Apparently we're gonna plant celery.
Remember, this is the Holy Land. Okay? You are planting actually in the Holy Land. It's not just a land.
It's the first time I actually got hands on with planting. But I thought it was so special because here I am in the land of Israel, and in the Bible you read so much about agricultural events. Roof picking up wheat that other farmers left behind for us to clean. The agricultural cycle, and Tel Gezer, you have agricultural calendar. So to actually do that work was, to me, wow. I was kind of thanking God for that. Yeah. Hello. Yes, hi. So as I'm doing the planting on the ground, I just have some thoughts about being here in the land and planting. Oh, it's just just incredible. Just thinking about how the ancient Israelites were also planting in this and how they had to depend on God for rain. It's the land of the Bible. So many events happen here. We're so close to the Gaza border, and to do this, that's great to be a blessing to people, like helping them to really need help. But also just the fact that I'm in a way planting in the good old way, the old-fashioned way, also in the land of Israel. Is just something that's a surreal experience for me. So look forward to finish this, and then we'll go on to our next stop. Hey, look at how beautiful this place has become, greenified. This is what we did today. Wow. So something like after 2-3 hours of that work, we went And to our first stop was a place called Takuma.
That's actually Takuma on this side. But this is the industrial area of Takuma. And this is where they brought all the cars that were burned on October the 7th here. This is our next stop. Okay, we just entered into the area, and then there's this board which says Amisrahai, the soldiers that died. And we are here, Takuma. Okay, and we were here, Kfar Maimon, just now.
And that's where you saw the burnt cars. They were all transported there. There's something like 1,600 of them. And up to this day, there are still families, people relate, owners of the cars, or even friends or relatives, family members of the owners of the cars did not come to claim the car, or
Why?
because it's just too heavy for them. They still haven't grappled with the reality, so they didn't come back to the site. Obviously, it's just too dramatic, too painful. And then over there, we got to there were some cars that were featured, and I just want to talk about one Toyota car. I think a sedan car was made popular during the recent months in the news. First, it was owned by Israeli that stayed in Kfar Aza. And then after the first wave of Hamas attacks, right? By the way, you have to understand that after 6:29 in the morning, there was no Israeli army. No Israeli army came until hours later, until late in the afternoon. So for many hours, the settlements, the kibbutzim, were on their own against hundreds of terrorists. Thousands of terrorists. So once the first wave of terrorists came, it didn't stop there. All right. Then came so-called innocent civilians from Gaza that came to loot and take whatever they want. They even killed dogs, and apparently, so this white Toyota sedan was looted, and a few months ago, it was being found at the Shifa hospital in Gaza. And just in case you do not know, Shifa Hospital is one of the places before that designated to be a no-war area because it's a hospital. But then the question is, why is there an Israeli car in the hospital? What's it doing there? If it's a no-war zone, right? And then when the Israeli army went in, they found directly under Shifa Hospital was Hamas command center underneath. Yeah. And even cables that went right down from Shifa Hospital to supply electricity to run whatever that Hamas is using underneath. So very, very devious, very shrewd, very cunning scheme of the enemy to again hide under like places like schools, hospitals, UN headquarters buildings.
They were not unconscious. They knew what they're doing. They came with more passion. It was built.
This is a place where they took 1,400 cars from everywhere for every from that morning on October the 7th, and placed it here. And this car was actually, this white Toyota was actually then taken by the innocent Gazan civilians, including this truck. They took it. They actually stole it, and this white Toyota actually was found in Shifa Hospital, and then brought it back here. And these are the motorcycles that that was burned, and some of them were used by the terrorists. Over there was a white sedan. Some elderly people were on their way to the sea, encountered the terrorists, shot them, and one of them even got raped. Old woman. Each one has a story. There is a QR code. Apparently, in one of the concentration camps today in Europe, you'll find a pile of shoes, and in the middle there's this red shoe. So this is using that image to symbolize again this is like the second Holocaust. Down here in the middle there is this place where it's a little memorial.
So from there, I went to Kfar Aza.
This is still looking very deserted from the news. Here, I was here. I think I saw this playground. Maybe it's just like a dead town, a ghost town right now.
And something that I learned about Kfar Aza was shocking, was that after 7th of October in the morning, after the first terrorist went in, the last terrorist was eliminated only on the 11th of October.
Alright, so what I was told that because there was no electricity for 4 days during the fight, when the soldiers came after the 4 days, there was a huge stench, not just from the dead bodies, but also from the food that was left in fridges that had like just turned bad and all that. And so they had to come. The rescue workers had to come wearing gas masks.
And I still remember the image of, in Kfar Aza, there was a gate, and 1 kilometer away from the gate is Gaza. And I could see Gaza right from the gate. And that was one of the first entry points of Hamas terrorists through that gate.
If you see in the middle of the way between us and to Gaza, you see a gray line. That's the fence. That's a border. It's less than 2 kilometers from here to Gaza.
Yeah. So Aza is Gaza. Aza is Gaza in Hebrew. Yeah. So they came in and the section of the Kfar Aza that was closest to the gate was for the young people. And so there's a huge massacre over there. I was in 2 rooms of where young people, couples were. It's a very small, tiny house, like a dormitory. They only had the safe room as well as their beds for defense. And everywhere else, everywhere in the room was bullet holes.
Wow. Look at the destruction. Incredible just to...
You see the marks of the bullets, the shooting here inside. Above the blue hand grenades inside. Everything is the same. They touch almost everything, anything. Look at the bullets inside. Look how many shooting. It's actually automatic fire without.
Two beds here, I think that's for protection against a terrorist attack. The window.
These are, people who believe that there could be peace between Jews and Arabs, and that's the reason why they chose to live 1 kilometer away from Gaza. It was the last thing on their minds, that they would expect, Hamas to come and kill them mercilessly. And you need to know that Hamas, when they came in, because a lot of them has been working, they know all these Israeli settlements very well. So they knew exactly where to go. They knew who to attack first, and so they did their homework. Are people back? No. There's only one guy that came back, and there are also maybe a handful of families, but they never stay long. They come and then they go, but permanently there's this one guy. His name is Shachar. We were hosted by him, and he's the one who gave us a tour around. And he was the one who related to us the story. We were at the gunfight scenes. We were at the places where people's homes were burned and destroyed. And he was one of those that he and his wife basically, the terrorists sort of forgot about their home or ignored their home, or didn't realize that there was a couple living there. But he gave an account about his neighbor was away on that day in the morning, but then he knew something was going on, and he called Shachar, who was then hiding in a bomb shelter, to go check on his wife. And so Shachar agreed, and this man is a big man, okay, and he doesn't walk fast. He has a crane, walking stick, and he still went out, and he took a penknife. So he went to his neighbor's house, and then found that his neighbor's wife was murdered. So he decided not to tell the truth to his friend.
And we decide that we don't tell him nothing, and we start to lie for the next 48 hours.
At that moment, just give it some time. He said that even the terrorists came to the place that we were having. We sat down with him. It's an open shed. The terrorists went there. He has a fridge, and the terrorists went, took stuff on the fridge and helped themselves. Sat down in the open shed, where he built, where we were also sitting. So it's crazy. And then after that, we went to the site of the Nova Festival, which is called Reim. There were a lot of Israeli soldiers. They were there also to remember why they're fighting this war. And when you go there, there are like a stand decorated with a photo of the person who was killed. Yeah, there's so many mini stories there.
Also here about Hersh. He was kidnapped from one of the Miguniot, of the shelters, close to Reim, down there. Noah Gamani, when she was captured, you could see her in the video how she's sitting on a motorcycle, but beside her, Avinatan, her boyfriend, walking. Of course, he was tired and everything, all the way to Gaza for me.
But all I can say is that the place it's within like a forest, but it is not like a tropical rainforest where there's just a lot of tall trees, but there are no shrubs at the bottom. So basically, it's like you can see through the forest. Yeah, there's no place you can hide, basically. All you could is you could run as far as you can, run. That's all I can imagine. I mean, I can imagine what the young people could have done.
Arrived to Reim West area. Terrorists arrived with the pickup trucks and the motorcycles, with automatic fire, with the RPG, and those policemen had only pistols. And they were not fighters. They started to come, to approach more and more, and then the police arrived to a point and said to them, everybody, run away. No matter, if you want to save your lives, run away. Where to run to? This is Gaza, there. By the way, those who went there, many of them survived. Because the terrorists came from the road, they didn't go there, they didn't care. They went through the road when they kidnapped people, this direction. Remember Noah Gamani on the motorcycle? Remember? That was a road down there. She went from there on the motorcycle.
So behind me is the dumpster site where some a couple of Israeli young people were hiding from the site of the Nova, which happens right over there, right in front of me. And Hamas terrorists came in behind and massacred everybody who was hiding in the dumpster.
Is it a Holocaust site? Yeah. I think in time to come, you don't need to go to Auschwitz or Birkenau, Just go to the sites of the October the 7th massacre. There's people who just simply hate the Jews. And this is where I like to also bring up, the failure of the UN to kind of emphasize. I mean, there's this movement called Me Too. This is for ladies who have been abused, victimized, traumatized by rapists. They're being raped. So Me Too is like, I was one of those people. But the slogan here is Me Too, except if you are a Jew. Yeah, in the Reim Forest, there was documented accounts of not just women being raped, but also women's private parts being abused in the most sickening way. Their private parts were cut off, and even men were raped.
Over 30 women were tied to those trees. I'm saying again the warning. All of them were naked. They were raped. And some of them, they opened their legs until they broke their bones. And they put inside the intimate parts of the body, they put iron, wood, whatever they could find. Sometimes they cut the breast, and also the men. used to cut ethnic part of the man, put it on the floor, and they raped also men. My friends, this is greetings to Gaza. Greetings to Gaza, with all the respect, with all the love. The thing is that that's what they did. And he described it. He said to me that he went with something to hide them, to cover them, which is not good to do, because it's, you know, if we speak about the police work, etc., forensic, etc., it's not the right thing to do, but he said I couldn't do anything else. I had to cover them, to take care about their honor. Many of them escaped and hid it. The terrorists did not give up. They hid it. They actually went after them, found them in many places, but then came the other waves. Remember the wave of not involved? Even children. Oren Laufer, his son-in-law, came to me and he said to me that he saw when he came to rescue some people from the party, he saw 14, 15, 16 years old children are running from the dead bodies and in the cars to steal whatever they could.
So all this seems to have gone unnoticed in the eyes of the UN, or at least it's not been emphasized. And it's just kind of like you wonder, right? Like the ideals of the UN. Yeah, it makes me feel that Israel seems to be alone in the world, and I can understand that from that point of view now in a more personal way why Israelis feel that the whole world kind of isolates them.
So that was what we call Me Too, unless you are a Jew.
So the last stop that we went was this small little. It's meant to be a bomb shelter to prevent, to hide when there is a bomb siren. But they're normally found beside bus stops. So we went to one of them, and it's small. It's 1.5 meters by 3.5 meters inside.
Suddenly, this hand grenade, someone threw it out. You don't see what is going on because you see what is on the road, and this hand grenade is exploding on the road. So the terrorists came again with another one, and again, someone threw it outside. That happened with the third, with the fourth, with the fifth, with the sixth, with the seventh, but the eighth did not come out. It exploded inside the shelter. Then you can see the terrorists are coming again, very nervous and stuff because they're throwing hand grenades and everyone always throwing it out. And they're coming throwing many hand grenades inside again and again and again. And then they're coming, going inside, shooting automatic fire on the bunch of the young people that actually hide inside. And then they're entering and kidnapping 4. Among them was Hersh.
And also the hand of Hersh was blown. Hersh was one of the 6 hostages that recently was found killed in the Hamas tunnel about a month ago. American citizen. So many stories, after that we headed back to Jerusalem.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we came to our rest stop on our way back to Jerusalem. Behind me is Latrun. I just want to conclude this day, and basically I think it's important to see how evil could exist, and that's kind of my feelings. And I also think that it's the narrative that causes people to do what they do. It's important what we believe in, and I can for sure tell you that the Hamas will tell you that whatever they did was for the good of the world, according to their beliefs. So anyway, May October 7 never be forgotten, a lesson we learned.
Well, my concluding thoughts was, I think, again, I think we shouldn't be naive. And I felt so strongly that if we don't resist evil, evil is just going to come and overtake. An expression that up to today I remember, and it goes like this. The only way for evil to trump is for good people to do nothing. So yeah, that's my concluding thought, and I think encouragement for you guys is that our life on earth, especially as a believer, is not to be idle. There's a lot of work to be done. Evil is trying to push its agenda, and if you're gonna stand and just wait or don't do nothing or just think that everything's gonna be fine, then I think you really have to rethink about that. Yeah.
This is something that you have to remember, especially those who are coming from abroad, because you might hear that say, first of all, it never happened. Now they're denying the Holocaust, they're denying also what happened here. It's all the imagination of the Israelis and the Jews. You know what we say about that? Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing.
Evil is not going to stop coming to attack us. So we better live with this reality, and we better not sit on our laurels or just feel like, I can just live my life as it is.
Okay, thank you for watching this. I hope that you would find this to be revealing and educational. If you like this, do forward or subscribe. God bless you.